Good afternoon and welcome back to yet another episode of Fite Sports Uncovered, exclusively right here, Love World Sat. I'm your host, Mark Joubert, and we've got a very interesting show. I say interesting, it's not going to be as action-packed and all of the fighting action that we've been used to over the last number of weeks. We're talking something very, very different today, something that impacts all of sport, not just the fight sports that we've been covering for so many weeks. But before I get there, today's show is proudly brought to you by Monati Chocolate, an artisanal bean-to-bar chocolate company. And talking Monati, we've got some fantastic offerings here from Monati. And if you have a look right there, and you as the viewers on the show today are going to get the opportunity to win this lovely hamper, valued at almost 2,000 Rand from Monati Chocolate. And I'm going to ask you a question a little bit later on in the show. So you're going to have to take notes right the way throughout the show. And between myself and my guest, who I'm going to introduce to you shortly, we're going to taste some of this chocolate. And we're going to give you our thoughts on what artisanal handmade bean-to-bar chocolate actually tastes like. And moving from chocolate, let's get right into today's show. And the man sitting to my left, he's going to tell us all about a very, very interesting component of the sports industry. And we're talking about the betting industry because, as you know, this global hiatus in sport where live sport literally has disappeared. You guys have been watching rerun after I'm getting sick and tired of reruns. You must be too. So the man sitting to my left, right here, Betway Marketing Manager, David Rachidi. David, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time. I know we've been trying to get hold of you and trying to chat to you for a while. I know the lockdown has been bad for sport. It's been bad for all business. You guys have been impacted quite a bit in terms of sports lockdown. Give us a quick breakdown, global view. What's been happening in the betting industry?
Thanks a lot, Mark. Yeah, definitely been new, interesting times. There's a new norm that globally we all pretty much adapting to. 100% correct in saying that it's had direct impact on us as an industry and as a betting company collectively, with one of our biggest content pieces coming to a complete halt for some time. Sports is quite critical for us. I think it's the content piece that literally drives the betting industry, that drives the content piece for Betway. And globally, with all the leagues and various federations having to shut down and take breaks, we've definitely felt the pinch or the different direction that the business has obviously had to take. One locally from a SAVCA point of view, across Africa and throughout our whole global offering. So it's been interesting and tough times. We've definitely seen a decline, and in terms of what people can now consume and what they can actually bet on, that completely had to change with sports coming to complete halt.
Let's take a step back. I mean, pre-COVID, if we look the previous 4 or 5 years, the betting industry, South Africa, Africa globally, literally exploded. I mean, you guys, would it be fair to say you guys were making money hand over fist in terms of the way the betting industry had literally grown exponentially? Most of that sort of those kudos to the benefit of cell phones. I mean, the fact that everyone is walking around with a mobile device in their hand, the ability to bet anywhere, anytime on any game. I mean, that was being the growth up until the end of 2019 going into 2024, you right?
Yeah, it's 100% correct in saying that an offering of, us being on a platform that you can access at any point on your mobile device has given us a great opportunity to actually interact with various consumers who are obviously above the ages of 18 but have either a feature phone or a smartphone or have access to the internet, PC, laptop, where they can actually come onto our platform and enjoy sports betting and the entertainment platform that we have to offer as Betway.
And if I recall, looking at some of the research in the setup to our discussion, the forecasts for the betting industry were looking astronomical through to 2024. And then there was this little thing called COVID-19. How little was it for you guys?
Definitely a game changer. definitely a game changer. It pretty much changed the thinking within the business as well. It's given us different aspects to actually consider. What other alternatives do we have to give to our betting customers in terms of entertainment online? And we've seen different dynamics. We've seen growth in esports, where people have now moved to esports as a form of betting. We've seen a growth in other channels in terms of online sports betting platforms. So our live games, our lucky numbers have definitely seen a steady increase, and consumers have just adapted accordingly. And I think with some of the leagues actually just shutting down over various periods, we've actually seen consumers just migrating from betting on EPL and literally just going to betting on the Australian leagues, which shut down a bit later in the process. So the leagues and the games that were still available up until a complete 100% stop, that's where consumers actually changed the betting culture. So it's been definitely interesting times. It definitely has been something that has had direct impact on the business, has forced the business to also adapt significantly, whereas now consumers just had multiple sports being offered to them on a daily basis to coming to complete zero. They've actually now gone and looked at what is the alternative that us as Betway as a brand we have to offer. So our bet games, our live games, electronic sports has definitely seen a great incline over the past 2.5 months.
And that's what I want to talk about. So with live sport disappearing, there's been this shift in terms of consumer behavior. A lot of it's pointing towards online casinos. And I mean, guys like yourself, a lot of your competitors, you've gone down that similar road, offering the likes of roulette and poker and all those kinds of things as alternatives. Yep. But there's also been this shift, as I understand it, and I just want to see if it's been something that you guys have seen, is that the football fan that is usually used to betting on their 90-minute game is now sort of moved across to start following eFootball. Have you seen that?
Yeah. We've definitely seen that. We've seen customers and football fans that, as you say, were continuously betting on 90 minutes of football, going to a shortened version, which is played electronically. And I mean, with games like esports, you have multiple games. So you have about 5-6 games in that 90-minute period. So you have the same guy betting on 5-6 matches in a 90-minute space as we offer those games more frequently. However, you have to look at it this way. You go from having a big pool of football fans that could bet on the 90 minutes to a small niche that's now growing to understand the esports. And I think with consumers just being very comfortable with the fact that they do understand football, they do understand sports, shifting to esports gives them a sense of comfort in that they still know the teams, they still know the type of players. It's just that now it's someone that's playing it electronically.
Someone else pulling the strings.
And it's shortened. It's over a 12 or 7-minute version, just depending on the esports itself.
That's what I want to ask you about. So we traditionally, your model, and predominantly a football model, because football is the biggest contributor to the betting industry globally, has been a 90-minute game, plus let's say a little bit of optional time, bit of extra time depending on finals and all that kind of stuff. But the e-football space, like you said, 7 to 12-minute games, have you seen this massive rush, or is it just literally been sort of spread over the period of 90 minutes that you've seen it? I mean, because I wouldn't expect that you've literally replaced the 90-minute income streams from an industry point of view with a whole bunch of 12-minute games.
Yeah, definitely not. I think something that we've picked up as key insights from an e-sporting perspective is it's a small niche base. However, over the past 2.5 months, it's grown quite steadily. It's become something that consumers are becoming a lot more comfortable with. It's something that they're getting and allowing themselves to actually play around with, get to understand, and actually also get to understand that it's 12 minutes that's actually played by individual controlling a particular team that either you're a fan of. So just the culture around sports betting has shifted quite drastically. So Customers are still very familiar and happy to be involved within sports. They've just now been given this alternative of esports, and the growth has been quite decent. It's taken a steady incline. I think as we go, as the sport returns, customers are now very familiar with the fact that they still have a level of esports that they can actually consider to be part of their betting slips.
Staying with esports, as a betting industry, you guys have spent a lot of money and taken a lot of time and energy and effort to educate customers in betting over the last number of years. Is there now an additional layer of education that needs to come into esports betting? Because let's understand, it's fundamentally different. I mean, a 90-minute game, Liverpool versus Manchester United, you've got 22 players plus coaches, bench, etc., that within that mix, the balance of the game will be decided. In an esports game, you have that same mix, but there's two individuals with a control in their hands, which ultimately, if the one guy's good, he smashes the other guy, and it doesn't matter how much money is sitting on the park. It's up to, it's a fundamental different dynamic.
Yeah, it's quite important that you also need to just educate consumers that, again, we're still not involved in the results. You're still betting purely as if you're betting on a match. We don't have any control on the dynamics. Who'll be the winner, who'll be the loser. I think within the 90 minutes of football, you get a sense of, if you have a big team up against a small team, you can look at stats, you can look at a possible upset. You have a sense of how the previous team has been performing, and if a small team has been doing quite well over past 4 or 5 games, you pretty much do anticipate that in the next game they could actually have a result that's very favorable to them. So there's a sense of actually going through previous stats and understanding players that are injured, how the team dynamics look like, is there a new coach? Whereas in esports, it's still the same team. The teams only get updated seasonally.
Yeah, correct.
It's not as per transfer windows when one ex-player leaves from a particular team to another team. So consumers still have a sense of needing to know that even within the electronic sports and the eGaming, it's something that sits outside of the betting company. It's literally you betting on a team that you favor. However, the dynamics of who's playing on the other side, no one has any control of. And it's different when you have a soccer player that you can actually entrust and a manager that you entrust to having someone that is a complete stranger to you. However, you're relying on the fact that it's a team that actually supports the team that on paper has the following players, so I do potentially see them getting a suitable result to you.
But I suppose down the line, it's going to be just like any other learning curve. New manager comes into a club, you as a fan, you as a punter, you obviously going to have to trust that this individual is going to build that team. Esports is no different. You're just going to have to learn to trust that this gamer versus that gamer is a better guy, like that manager versus that manager is a better guy. So it's going to change the landscape.
100%. I think with more and more games being played and more and more consumers actually moving onto the platform and understanding it, they'll also get a sense of a pattern. They'll get stats because there's more and more matches being played. They get a sense of which particular player is doing quite well, where they sit in the leaderboard, how they've performed over X number of months or weeks. And that in itself will ultimately also influence the decision that the consumer actually has in terms of who do I bet on, why am I betting on them, how they've been performing. So it's going to be a big cultural shift into esports. It definitely will be something that consumers will have to learn, and there'll be some uptake. And I think from a brand perspective, it's definitely quite critical for us to also just, as we evolve with our consumers. So we actually take them on this journey of just giving them the product education and the brand education as a whole.
We're going to take a quick break, but listen, there's just so much we need to unpack about eGaming, esports, particularly in a betting space, particularly as it seems to become, it will find its place as one of the big players in this new normal that everyone's talking about. We'll see you right after this.
Introducing the new, fresh, and exciting Rhapsody of Realities app 3.0. The Messenger Angel Rhapsody of Realities just got a new updated app for reading Rhapsody daily articles. Enjoy reading and listening to your Rhapsody on the go while taking advantage of these amazing features. Brand new design. Enjoy the new design built to take advantage of the latest technologies to make your app experience awesome. It's simpler and easier to use. With just one click, you have access to the article for the day. It's that easy. Sync notes. Pin down moments of divine inspiration while studying the devotional and sync them to the cloud to be available anywhere, anytime. A new interactive store. Visit the store and get all books by Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome for people of all ages and download them to your library. Store your favorite books in an easy access folder. Enjoy unlimited access when you upgrade to our premium subscription. Gain access to the complete package of Rhapsody of Realities every month. This includes the entire month's devotional on the go with free audio devotional add-ons. Track your reading habits daily with our automated calendar and identify unread days for the devotional. Read further studies right within the app. Download the new Rhapsody mobile app today for free and be inspired anytime and everywhere on the go. Available on the Google Play Store.
Welcome back to Fite Sports Uncovered right here on Love World Sat. And if you missed the first bit of the show, you'll know we've been talking to Betway Marketing Manager David Rachidi just about the impact of the global sporting hiatus, what that's basically meant to the betting industry, and bearing in mind that the sports industry and the betting industry very much intertwined when it comes to live sport and for many, many fans out there. But if you're watching right from the very beginning of the show, you'll know that this show is probably brought to you by Monati Chocolate, an artisanal, handmade bean-to-bar chocolate company. And David and I, while we were in the break, we were tasting some of these samples, some of what you see in front of us right here. And we had, like I said, a couple of tasters. And David, I just want to get your sense. What was your favorite flavor out of what you tasted there?
Went with one of my favorite colors, which is green, so Mint Magic.
The green one, absolutely. Okay, so David selected Mint Magic as his favorite flavor in terms of what we tasted. And like I said at the beginning of the show, courtesy of Monati Chocolate, this hamper worth almost 2,000 Rand could be yours if you answer this very, very simple question. And the simple question is, which flavor did David Rachidi like best out of what you see in front? And if you can send us your answer, simply WhatsApp it to the following number, +27 83 885 2040. We'll put that number at the bottom of the screen, and we'll select a lucky winner, and we'll announce that lucky winner in next week's show, and they'll walk away with this fantastic hamper courtesy of Monati Chocolate. Right, getting back to betting, let's get back to sports and the global hiatus. We finished off talking a little bit about eGaming, and you were finishing off just telling us a little bit about the fact that there's going to be a little bit of a change in terms of consumer behavior. One of the questions I've been dying to ask a betting company is, with this explosion of eGaming on the global scene, how quickly are we starting to see, or are we already seeing it, the fact that you guys as betting entities are starting to create odds on gamers as opposed to the teams that they are representing via the console? Because at the end of the day, they are pulling the strings. They are being sort of managed by gaming entities, these MNOs as they call them, or MGOs. Is that started, or was that something that is currently being looked at by you guys?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that's been looked at from a brand perspective. It's something that's also started within the betting industry, 100%. Where we've seen some of the local and international celebrities or football players up against each other, and those odds are being placed on numerous betting platforms. So the trend has definitely picked up, and it's one of those insights that has definitely come with the change in just the business direction of the whole industry in its totality. So definitely something that's within every sports betting company's radar, and as us as a brand as well, we've had to just tweak and adapt our business accordingly.
Obviously, that's going to mean potential huge windfalls for the top gamers globally, potential bigger sponsors, potential bigger opportunities to make money off their relative skills.
Yeah, it gives the various players a different dynamic of being picked up and getting sponsorship opportunities, numerous events, proposals coming through where guys are now requesting online tournaments to be sponsored. It's something that has definitely grown quite drastically within our business, where we've seen hundreds and hundreds of proposals coming through where guys are now hosting various online sports tournaments. So it's been a big change in that sporting culture, and I think the guys have just also adapted to the fact that because everything is now somewhat shifting to be online, how can they offer brands and partners the opportunity to actually engage with consumers on those various spaces as well?
David, I mean, the e-gaming space is a fascinating space, and we could probably sit here all day talking about it in terms of its various iterations and machinations that take place within the e-gaming space. But I want to move very quickly to another issue that literally exploded midway through this entire global hiatus, and that's the issue of brand rights and rights holdership, if we can call it that. Now, Betway as a brand, you guys are a brand rights partner to a number of football teams, most notably West Ham United, 3 teams in the La Liga, and then obviously a couple of teams across Africa through Zambia and Ghana. How has that impacted you guys, the fact that all these teams who you pay a lot of money to showcase your brand during their games have not been playing games?
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that the fact that the leagues have come to a stop, your immediate front of t-shirt brand viewership somewhat took a bit of a step back, where if you're not seeing the actual team play, you are somewhat restricted in seeing, that brand visibility. However, with that being said, I think, the fact that the various federations and sporting codes have taken a strong approach to actually remove themselves and deal with this COVID-19 pandemic, we do support that our athletes, our teams took the various steps to actually ensure that the athletes are 100%, and actually when they do come back, things get back to normal. We're seeing now that the leagues are now reopening. Bundesliga now being played behind closed doors has definitely given us, we've seen an uptake in consumers actually coming back to the platform. We've got La Liga, Serie A, EPL coming back in the next couple of weeks. So that relationship with the various teams will continue, as now the seasons will, instead of being stretched out, we'll have numerous matches over a couple of days. So the frequency also changes, whereas previously, if you're probably seeing a West Ham playing once a week, we now have them playing 3-4 times over a period of about 10-11 days. So frequency across the teams is also going to change, because they are chasing completing of their various leagues over a period and a set deadline. We're going to have quite a lot of back-to-back matches that happen globally and across our African leagues. So the brands will actually we'll then now see again an uptick in terms of consumers just seeing, there's the team that I support, and they're now back playing across La Liga, playing across EPL. So in the period that the leagues have stopped and taken a halt, I think it's been, from a business point of view, it's been something that's been supported quite strongly to say we need to be part of the process of ensuring that this pandemic is actually addressed and flattening of the curve across the various efforts that have been put across. So the leagues coming back, it's quite exciting. I think it gives our consumers a sense that they can now carry on with being part of the brand, being part of the various sporting codes that they actually enjoy, and also now getting to see their favorite teams back on TV, back online, and it's given us an opportunity to now get back into the swing of things. And as a brand, we're quite happy to now see things normalizing as they are.
So that's all the niceties, and it's great to know that Betway is still on board with all of the brands and all of the teams that they supported. But I mean, let's talk. It's business. For you guys, this is business. And at the end of the day, the concept of you paying out money for sponsorship is driven by the fact that you're going to get, visibility. You're going to generate revenue. Your shirts are going to be sold globally by the supporters of these teams. The Betway brand will be seen on kids and adults' chests for the next 10 to 20 years. If we look at other brands that I personally wear, you probably personally wear in terms of your personal preferences away from the business. But these kind of things are driven by a business model, and that business model has come to an abrupt halt over the last 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. If you just take a season, you're looking at 38 games, 30 plus games over 12 months. We've had a period whereby now in month probably 6 of 12, 3 months have just disappeared. However, the approach and the process that the guys have actually taken, I think, has been quite beneficial to the brand supporters and the brand partners, in the sense that they have taken all the steps to actually ensure that leagues actually come to an end by being completed. There's been 1 or 2 that have just been closed off by not being completed. In France, for example, the league just came. Holland, Belgium, the leagues came to an end without actually completing the season. And that does definitely have a direct impact on any brand that's sponsoring a team at that point in time. And I think from our end, the fortunate part is, with leagues like La Liga and the EPL coming back, our teams such as West Ham, Levante will complete their season. And as I previously touched on this, it's now at a higher frequency. So we have same consumer consuming that content at a more frequent basis. So you start picking up and being top of mind again, because that football fan is seeing a West Ham match a lot more frequently, and can relate to the brand again, get a sense of, oh yes, this is the team or brand X that's sponsoring this particular team. And for us as Betway, I think fortunately across the group, we've taken the approach to just carry on with all our partnerships with our various teams, and with the seasons, as I say, being squashed in or being pushed into a set period of time of being completed, we'll actually get some room of return on investment, whereas the guys will get to see the guys back on the field in their favorite colors. The unfortunate thing is, yes, it's behind closed doors. However, the guys will be wearing their T-shirts at home. So
in the pub, if they can open.
And I think the fortunate thing is that some countries have taken different approaches of treating the various aspects of lockdown. And Betway being a global brand, we get to have the benefits of us being seen globally once things get back to normal. And we'll have the benefits of our brand actually coming back and getting back to the norm of where it used to be prior to the halt of this pandemic.
Brand aside, final question for you. Return to play is clearly music to your ears, and every other stakeholder within the betting industry, every fan on the planet is literally rubbing their hands in glee at the prospect of it coming back. Yes, K-League started it off. Bundesliga has set a certain standard. We've now got EPL coming back. I think it's in the next week or two. We've got Serie A, La Liga, NBA have finalized their final 22-team playoff setup. So much is happening. Formula One, tennis, etc., all back to play. You guys must be absolutely ecstatic to be able to get your business booming again.
Yeah, we're very much happy, as I said. For us as Betway and within the sports betting industry, sports is our biggest content. And without the sports, any business that's in the betting industry will definitely feel the pinch. And with the leagues coming back, with the frequency of the matches being played, the stretch of the end of this current season and the start of the new season, we're quite delighted to actually have our content coming back. And we embrace the fact that all the various federations have taken the different necessary steps to ensure that hygiene and athletes and various teams are protected, playing games behind closed doors. However, the games are now going to be re-televised. We'll get to see our favorite teams. With a league like Bundesliga, we got some exciting insights that we picked up during this period where people were actually now logging onto our platform to stream the Bundesliga. So it's different dynamics that have actually also taught us that as a brand over this period, consumers have adapted, and we've equally tried by all means to ensure that we give them the content that they're looking for. So the return of the EPL, La Liga, and Serie A has also prompted us as a business to just look at different campaigns to actually again reignite the conversation with our consumers, get back to actually just putting out the conversation and the brand of Betway and what we are about. So it's been a new norm. It's interesting times. However, from a business, we are very excited and happy to see all these leagues coming back in the next coming of weeks.
Well, there you hear it from the man himself, David Rachidi here, Marketing Manager at Betway. A brand new normal, and that's not just for us, it's for the betting industry, it's for the sporting industry, and just like all of us, we're having to adapt, they're having to do exactly the same thing. Thanks so much for your time on this Fite Sports Uncovered show today. Fantastic insights out of the betting industry. Look forward to having you along for the ride next week. Until then, protect yourselves at all times. We're out.